In the course of a drug trafficking investigation, D.C. police obtained a warrant to install a GPS tracking device on the car of Antoine Jones. Unfortunately, they installed it in Maryland, outside the warrant's jurisdiction, and after the warrant had expired. So the Supreme Court was confronted with the question, is the installation of a GPS tracking device on a car to monitor the public movements of that car a violation of the Fourth Amendment right to be free of unreasonable searches and seizures when it's done without a valid search warrant?
The decision in Jones was unanimous, a pro-privacy decision up and down the line. Every justice in the Supreme Court agreed that the government should not be able to collect information about people using GPS devices attached to cars for a long period.
Justice Scalia's majority opinion decided this case on fairly narrow grounds, reminding us that the fundamental link between the Fourth Amendment and rights of property is still valid, and so even without having to decide the thorny questions about what reasonable expectation of privacy Jones might have had in the publicity of his movements, the installation of the device, the invasion of his physical property, was in itself a Fourth Amendment violation.
That's a return, in their minds, to the original meaning of the Fourth Amendment, which was essentially based on property. That's important and different because the 1967 Katz decision, which has been the lodestar decision, was based on reasonable expectations of privacy. The other four justices would have insisted on using that case. Property rights are important here because that's the real original meaning of the Fourth Amendment. And it's very difficult, of course, to apply property rights to present circumstances. But this is a step in the right direction.
That narrow decision avoids a lot of complicated questions that are bound to come up, though, in the near future. There are lots of ways to monitor someone without physically invading their property. You can imagine high-powered spy satellites, tiny drone cameras, or the most popular method now in use by police, monitoring cell phone signals, which allow, as anyone who's used Google Maps on a mobile device knows, pretty precise tracking of someone's movements both in public and in private.
One of the more interesting opinions was a concurrence delivered by Justice Sotomayor. She concurred in the majority's opinion, that is the property rights basis, which is important, but she also said that the court might want to consider what's known as the third-party doctrine. That's the idea that anybody who shares information with anyone gives up their Fourth Amendment interests in it. Justice Alito, who wrote the concurrence that disagreed with the majority holding, he mused about this during oral argument, but it was Justice Sotomayor who wants to get away from the retrograde third-party doctrine. It's very interesting to see that from her.
And this is hugely important when it comes to things like your internet activity. Your internet service provider, your mobile phone provider has a record in some sense of every website you visit, what you're doing online. And so the question is, under the existing third-party doctrine, even if it may have statutory protection, is there constitutional protection for that kind of information? And there's a line of Supreme Court cases saying, no, once you've exposed it to your internet provider, the phone company, some other person, even if they swear to keep it private, even if they're contractually bound to keep it private, you've waived your constitutional privacy interest. And Sotomayor, I think, very insightfully points out that given the realities of how technology operates in the 21st century, if we applied that without restriction, it would really fundamentally undermine our most vital privacy interests.
The third-party doctrine was wrong when it was founded, and it grows more wrong with each passing year. It's very interesting that Sotomayor would suggest to the court that he wants to reconsider that retrograde doctrine. The holding is relatively narrow because it relies on the specific factual circumstances of attachment of a GPS device. Scalia's majority opinion is interesting because it doesn't define very clearly what kind of property invasion results in a Fourth Amendment search. It comes many pages later that he suggests that it's an attachment of a device to a Jeep in this case. Justice Sotomayor comes in later and says, in language that's legally important, an invasion of personal property is what causes a Fourth Amendment search to happen. That's new, and that's an important idea, because that doctrine, that language may be applied to cell phones, may be applied to other physical objects we carry with us, away from our homes, away from the curtilage around our homes. And that's an important expansion of Fourth Amendment law to protect the tangible goods that we carry, and I think particularly of information devices.
In a way, we've answered the specific question at issue in this case, but not the most important question, because already it seems clear that while GPS tracking devices are very popular with police, even more pervasive and even more popular now and certainly in the future are going to be other methods that don't involve physical invasion. Again, it seems obvious from the limited information we have that use of cell phones to track targets wherever they might go is becoming just incredibly pervasive, incredibly popular with law enforcement, and that other similar forms of non-invasive monitoring are going to be the way forward for law enforcement in the future. So the question is now inevitable, I think, and we've got good basis for a privacy-protective decision from at least 5 justices on the court. How does the Fourth Amendment protect that? How does the Fourth Amendment protect us in all that can be exposed from knowing where we go, who we meet with every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Is that information that's protected that requires a warrant, or can the government physically monitor everyone's location all day, all the time, for no reason at all?